going to get tired of being the face of every knockoff group, the marginalized, non-traditional, oddball, weirdo group. They always make Black women the face of a weirdo movement, the movement of weirdos.
We are having really weird reactions to that Black woman statue in New York. I really hope your friends never see it. No, I hope your daughters and your nieces never see that take. I hope that your mama and your aunties never see your take on that statue, because the way some of y'all are literally crashing out because it is an average sized woman in bronze. Like, are we okay? Speaking specifically to Black people, are we okay?
Who in the world erected Bonquisha up into the middle of Times Square? Because that is her name, Bonquisha. Who put Bonquisha up there in the middle of Times Square?
In regards to the 12-foot Black woman statue in New York, I just want to say I love her. I feel like she represents me. And I said this, and then somebody came into my comments and said, no, she represents an unhealthy Black woman. She doesn't represent you. I'm 5'5" and I'm over 200 pounds. If you look at me, you would think that I'm an unhealthy Black woman. If you heard those numbers, you're going to think that I'm an unhealthy Black woman. But because people follow me and they see, you understand that I'm a freaking beast.
Big, overweight, just, there's nothing attractive about the statue. There's nothing appeasing. It's like this monster of a Black woman who's dominating.
That black, ugly monster. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. Me, your auntie, your cousins, maybe a sister of yours, your grandma, we all shape the same. We all look the same. See, we can change the way that we're shaped and we're built, but you can never change that the bad attitude that you have, acting like Pennywise, bitch. Like that's what it's given.
Not a Black woman in Haitian shoes shaped like the coin star machine. I don't know whether to throw quarters at you or say hello. My God, today. Okay, you feel better. When you stop being a loser as a woman and you look in that mirror and you see, damn girl, you love you. Ooh, it's the me for me. Oh, girl, you loved on yourself so good today. Look at you. I want every woman to feel that, not look at yourself and feel disgusted, feel like you want to hide, have false senses of confidence to lie to yourself that you big and beautiful. Stop it. Get some help. Are you not tired?
Regular t-shirt. Well, I mean, the artist is saying that his statues are depicting everyday people wearing everyday clothing. So what the hell do you expect?
There are so many people that are critiquing it because they're like, oh, why does she look that way? Why does she have to be a bigger Black woman? Why can't she be what they perceive to be beautiful? Some people within the Black community feel like people only deserve to be seen if they fit the rest of society's idea of perfection.
Always the face of what it is to be non-traditional, to not be in feminine space as a woman. To not be that never specifically making you never the face of femininity, of vulnerability, of softness, of care, of beauty, never making you the face of beauty, never making you the face of anything to be admired or anything to be in awe or inspired by. All the time to make Black women the face of some small ism, offshoot, weird fringe kind of thought that nobody really pays attention to. It's always odd. You know, it's always like, oh, really? What is that? Huh? What? While at the same time, purporting that this is supposed to be the fact that you are not a representation of what is traditional, it's supposed to then be speculated that is a representation of something that transcends being a woman. You transcend the expectation of femininity. You transcend, somehow this is supposed to be a compliment to Black women that, you're not really a woman.
I do know that the average size woman is a size 14 in this country, and that our bodies are a wide swath of diversity, and all of those are okay. Really and truly, I don't get the outrage. I don't get the disgust. Like, there's genuine disgust for how this artist portrayed a Black woman's body. And it's not because of any scandal, and it's not because of any stereotypes. It is literally because she has an average size body. And folks on here are losing it. Mind you, I said average. That means there's more bodies that look like that lady than don't.
Why do some people always seem to win, while others struggle for years without results? It's not because...
And I'm very confused by all the Black women that are celebrating this. I'm very confused. People in your family look like that? Because nobody in my family looks like that. I'm sorry. No one in my family looks like that. First of all, we have style. One thing I say about Black women is we have style. So I'm very confused as why you think we walk around the place looking like that. And somehow or the other, a lot of Black women seem to think this is progress. Why do you think this is progress? This is not progress. They have a sassy Black woman that is obese, that looks like she don't do nothing in her life, in the middle of Times Square. And his other statues have Black women looking like, I have a nasty attitude. All I want to do is look at my cell phone. Why do y'all think that's okay?
And that's why I be trying to tell people, your weight don't mean nothing. What can you do in that weight? And then you got to think about where BMI comes from, which is a whole nother subject for a whole other day. But I mean, just look at a Black woman. She's standing there with a straight face, with her hands on her hips. People are saying she's aggressive. She got an attitude. So everybody else can stand with their hands on their hips. But if a Black woman does, she have an attitude. Everybody else can stand with a straight face. But if a Black woman does, she has an attitude. Black women, we get this all the time, especially in the workplace. Right? And then some people say that they wanted it to be a person, but I love the fact that it's just a regular Black woman, because there are so many regular Black women who are superheroes. They are amazing teachers. They are people that are bringing the communities together. They're out here working without getting the recognition that they truly deserve. I love it. Like, no matter what, if that statue had abs, people would have had a problem. If that statue had an afro, people would have had a problem. If the statue would have had a middle part bust down, people would have had a problem. If the statue would have had a BBL, people would have had a problem. No matter what, people would have had a problem, because it's a Black woman and we are so diverse that there's no way to represent all of us. But I think they did good, because we all know somebody who looks like that.
And that's okay.
Like, y'all know what it gives? This aggressive, overpowering, masculine Black woman. That's what the statue gives. It does not give anything feminine, soft, strong, powerful, fit. No, it's a big, Black, fat, overweight woman in the middle of Times Square to take pictures of.
You ain't in the gym being fit and fine and fabulous. You're in the gym because you have insecurities and flaws that you don't want to face. You're a scary bitch. You don't want to admit that you like eating the things that you like to eat. You just don't want somebody to call you a big back bitch when you're eating them, because you're not comfortable in your skin. You're not comfortable with who you are. I get it, babes. It's cool. It's okay if you want to go ahead and adhere to the standards, to the beauty standards of which you're not even a part of, because you're not a white woman. Let's clock that. But I dare. And I speak as a woman who used to be skinny, okay? I got fat because I got 4 kids, Penny, and I just let myself go. But I found myself. So I know that when it's time, I can always get back to who it is that I need to be. Fine, okay? But let me say this, though. Do you think that you have a one-up on us because you're built like a pogo stick with 2 helium balloons behind?
Even for the people who would not typically observe us, to make sure that they are reminded of who we are, big, strong, fat, and Black. Then you wonder why in everyday situations in life, people treat us as though we're the mama, like, y'all got it, it's cool. Okay, because we got Black women saying, what's the big deal? It's just a statue. So thirsty for representation that you don't even care if the representation is at your demise.
There's other things we could talk about, but the fact that y'all want to sit and talk about a statue that's only going to be showcased until June 17th, y'all lose me every single day. Every single day.
All right, everybody. Hello. Happy, what are we? Wednesday, Tuesday? I just Wednesday, y'all. I just had a moment. Happy Wednesday. No, this is very last minute, but I wanted to weigh in. I know I posted a few videos about this topic and just wanted to weigh in a little bit briefly on my thoughts and why I think this is getting so much traction and what this means. But before I do so, be sure to like, share, subscribe on the way in. And yeah, I'm gonna try to get to this pretty fast. I'm going to try not to take too much of your guys' time. But, by now you guys obviously are aware of the 12-foot bronze statue of the plus size Black woman that is in Times Square. And I just showed you the video of different Black women who are pretty much reacting to the bronze statue, and we see how distinctive and how different everyone's reaction is. And the reason I think that's important is because this statue, again, is a microcosm of a bigger issue. Or I think there's a microcosm of bigger challenges or bigger issues that are actually going on in the Black community. And it's these kind of symbolic moments that all they do is just reveal bigger challenges and issues that have been going on for quite some time. So, but what I want to do first is read real briefly the intention, or the supposed intention, of the statue from the artist. Then I'm going to go through some of the different feedback that I've seen, media representation, and then ultimately I want to provide context as to what is going on around the time that the statue went up and why I think all of these things are actually really connected and really important. But I will start off by saying I feel that America has a huge fascination with the single Black woman. A huge fascination. And for some reason, while feminism wasn't started by Black women, this is something that was started by white women in the West, right? Black women, we know, ran with it, and they've always kind of been the face of the hyper independent, empowered woman. And as I posted in my community tab earlier, I said, why is it that the empowered Black woman is always shown as single? Rarely, if ever, do we see an empowered Black woman with a family, with children, in a role that actually is considered more traditional. And what's to me so ironic about this is what I heard to be true about the statue is that the whole idea of the statue was to supposedly try to challenge stereotypes. But I'm like, you don't challenge stereotypes by reinforcing them. And the statue that we've all seen up to this point, I can show it again for those of you guys who need just a quick reminder. The statue literally does everything to reinforce stereotypes about Black women, literally everything. And I'm like, you do not challenge a stereotype by reinforcing it. So to me, it just seemed like it just seemed like the intention behind it was a little disingenuous. At least that was my initial thought. But, again, here we are, this strong Black woman, right? This strong Black woman who is completely, no context, no family, no community, not even friends. She's just there by herself, hands on her hip, not even smiling. Nothing about her looks soft. Nothing about her looks unbothered. She doesn't look peaceful. She looks like she's carrying the weight of the world. And I saw one of you guys in the comments saying, hey, no, actually, this statue has made its rounds. It's not just, it's in America right now, but it's actually been shown across the world. And I'm like, yeah, it's actually worse. That makes it worse, because you mean to tell me that this image of Black woman is being portrayed across the world? That's problematic. Because it's not just that, you have this strong, this again, huge, ginormous statue of a woman without the context of any community. I mean, let's forget about, just the outfit itself. The outfit itself is very mid. Those shoes are horrible. She don't even have a bra on. Like, it's just mid. Like, everything about the statue is mid. What is this saying about the perception of Black women? Like what message is this giving off? If it's that, okay, the Black woman is strong and impervious, okay, is that the message that they need to hear right now with the current political and social and economic climate that's going on? Is that useful? Does a Black woman need to hear that she's strong and impervious and doesn't need a community at the time when Black women are actually losing jobs at the highest rate? But before I get into it, I want to kind of show a few different things. And then I want to break down really why I think these kinds of messages and these kinds of imaging are really, really detrimental, and they do nothing to empower really anybody. All they do is just reinforce old stereotypes. And they also show me, I think, what I've said before, that there's this weird fascination with the single Black woman. And I think there's many reasons for it, but I think one of it goes down to when a woman is alone. First of all, when anyone is isolated, they're more vulnerable, because we as human beings are not meant to be isolated. But then when you take a woman outside of the context of community, women generally thrive in community because by nature, women, we're more prone to comparing our lives. Let's just be honest. We're more prone to being moved and swayed by the community mindset. So there's an aspect, there's like, I think, a very innate aspect of women who are persuaded and are moved and thrive in community. That's how we are made. And so when you take women out of their natural element, you put them alone, they're more vulnerable. They're vulnerable to all kinds of different things, to literally, obviously, physical attacks, to financial challenges, to social, spiritual, and emotional attacks. And I think one of the reasons we see single Black women in particular always be put in empowered spaces because they've been used as a tool. Black women, unfortunately, have been used and are being used as a tool to do very destructive things in the Black community. I'm not saying only Black women, right? We know the Black men are doing the same thing. Anybody who is willing to sell their soul to do just about anything to get power or respect is of no good use to anybody, including themselves. But Black women they're not, exempt from that. And we have seen countless examples of Black women who are put in these media positions, who are put in positions of power, and they do nothing but promote messages that degrade their own people, that degrade their own community, that reinforce stereotypes. And the best way to keep the image of the best way, first of all, to keep Black women from actually thriving is to make sure that she's alone and to make sure that she's not connected with her power source, which is her community, which is her family, which is her headship. When you can break her off from that, and when you can put her in a position and start to fill it with lies, that is the best way to ensure that she never progresses. And to me, it is no coincidence that here are all these things going on and all these movements, and the estimated wealth of Black America, I think, is about to be zero. I want to say by 2040, by 2050. Like, it's going to be like zero, literally. If things continue as such, there's going to be no wealth. And again, we're speaking in generality. Of course, there's rich people and there's all of that. But I'm just saying, as far as the overall community and the collective. So I'm just saying, it's like when you can remove a woman from her community and then keep her in this isolated space and then fill her with lies that she's actually better off that way, she is susceptible to, and she is basically can be used to do just about anything. And that's actually what we see being happen. She can be used for the deterrent of her community, or she can be destroyed. But she's not in a position of power. And that's actually what, to me, is so fascinating. And I think is also what is so damaging about this, that the single Black woman, she's not in a position of power, actually. The strong and independent and impervious, I have no one to stand on, I have nobody to help me, is not in a power position. That is a vulnerable position. That is not a good position to be in. And so that's actually, to me, these kinds of images, you have to take them in context. We don't live in an environment where it's like super patriarchal and women are, all women are barefoot and pregnant and have an average of 5 kids and are cooking all the time. And they just want the rights to be able to drive or just wish they could have a voice. Like we don't live in a society in which women don't have a voice, women don't have agency, women don't have opportunity. And so they need messages about being empowered. They need messages about their own value and worth. They need messages about how their femininity has straight. Like, we don't live in that environment. And so context is so crucial. And as I said before, it is not lost to me that these kinds of images, the impervious, single, completely devoid of any community, any family, just this strong and independent, statuesque, almost godlike Black woman who was able to strong alone, this kind of messaging is being promoted in literally one of the most populated, one of the most international parts of the United States, Times Square. This message is going out at the same time that the economy is putting more and more pressure on Black women, particularly, more and more economic pressure. And the results of that actually are very dire. So I see a connection. Okay, so I want to pull up a few things just to provide context about where this is from and supposedly what this is supposed to mean. And then I also want to show you guys some of the different perspectives that I've heard from different media outlets, what they're saying, and then why I think this is important. So here it says, coming to Times Square this spring is a 2-part takeover by artist Thomas J. Price, whose multidisciplinary practice confronts preconceived notions of identity, representation, the monument, and monumentality. On View. Yeah, so this is on View April 29th to June 17th in the center of Times Square. Grounded in the Stars is a 12-foot tall figurative bronze sculpture that disrupts traditional ideas around what defines a triumphant figure and challenges who should be rendered immortal through monumentalization, right? Or monumentalization. In conjunction, Price's stop-motion animation work Man series will synchronize nightly across over 95 digital billboards as May's Midnight Moment, featuring sculpted forms of male characters against stark Black backgrounds, their gaze cast just beyond the people on the plazas below, right? And so I will say there were other things that went out in conjunction. Obviously, this particular statue got the most traction, and the statue was going to be out from April to June. The Man series, this one, is only happening for the month of May. This one is going on from April to June. This one is only happening for the month of May. And to my understanding, it only lasts for about 3 seconds. And then it's going to be pretty much recycled over and over on the billboard. But I want you to listen to this part right here where it says, the sculpture disrupts traditional ideas around what defines a triumphant figure and challenges who should be rendered immortal through monumentalization. So it's who should be rendered immortal. So again, the thing about this statue is that it's giving this Black woman, this fictional Black character, and those people are going back and forth about her being individual. No, she is fictional. Now, maybe some people could point them to an auntie or a mom or a sister or somebody that they know. Like we all know somebody who looks like that, or who can have that profile. But no, this character is not necessarily based upon anyone, as far as I am concerned. But with that said, it says they're giving this person a pretty much immortal, God-like, God-esque kind of characteristic. And it's not lost to me that this God-like, God-esque characteristic is being given to the portrayal of Black woman who's actually very average, right? I mean, your average Black woman actually really looks like this, in America at least, right? Not 12 foot. I think the average height is around 5'4", so give or take around 5'4", 180, 190 pounds, so plus sized. We see here she has the braids. She don't have no bra, and her outfit is, you know what I mean? But I'm saying, but as far as just like her body, her representation, like she looks like your average Black woman. So as far as the representation of how your average Black woman is looking in America, kudos, hats off. But the thing is, why do we have to go immortalize her though? Why do we have to give her now a godlike character? Because here's the thing. When we're talking about statues, and he's talking about the representation of traditional statues were made of people who actually did triumphant things. Now, we can debate and argue whether or not people need to be honored, because we understand that some of the statues have a very spotted history, and we know some of the statues have been taken down, right? There's a whole political history behind that. But by and large, anytime there's a statue or monument being made, it's for somebody who actually did something that they believe is worth honoring. The average Black woman in America, why are we trying to immortalize somebody who's just average? You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what's the purpose of that? If it's to try to put the average woman on a level that's beyond anyone else. What value does it bring? Also, can we be honest? The average Black woman in America is actually not really doing well. Can we be honest about that? Like, most Black women in America are obese, and they are dying not of old age. Okay, they're not dying of old age. There's heart disease or diabetes, there's chronic illnesses. Like, Black women, by and large, when they're dying of early deaths, it is generally because of their health, issues associated with health, and issues that are likely very connected to their weight. So why would we try to immortalize something that's actually, by and large, harming Black women? I know there's been a lot of back and forth about, looking like this kind of way, and people talking about this is just disgusting, because look, I'm not gonna sit up here and try to judge somebody for the whole beauty standard debate, right? We know beauty is not subjective. And I just showed you guys a whole video of Black women going back and forth about how she's beautiful versus not beautiful. That's a whole debate in and of itself. But I'm like, if I just put the whole beautiful argument over there, if I just hold off of that just for one moment and forget about the physical aesthetics of whether or not you prefer somebody who's plus size or prefer somebody who's skinny, because we know that there's men out there who like them BBWs. It is what it is. But if we just put that aesthetic thing to the side, there are bigger issues. Like, first of all, there is no reality in which promoting a person who is, or promoting an obese lifestyle is healthy. Particularly when we know that that lifestyle is actually one of the main things harming Black women. So why are we now immortalizing? Why are we now trying to promote? Why are we now applauding the kind of lifestyle that actually is harming Black women? So like when you start to read through these different things of, okay, we are now challenging traditional stereotypes. You're doing that by promoting them. And you're also doing that by promoting messaging and ideas and kinds of behaviors that have actually been to the deterrent of Black women. I'm not going to sit here, like I said, if you go, anytime you start talking about a Black woman's weight, she's going to be offensive. 9.9 times out of 10, she's going to be offensive. She's going to try to explain to you 101 ways why she's still slim, thick, and beautiful, and men still like her. She could be 660 pounds, and she will fight you tooth and nail why she's so beautiful. I'm not here to try to convince a Black woman she's not beautiful. That is not my goal, to try to sit here and convince you that you are less beautiful than that person. That's not me. I always am going to say you can feel as beautiful as you want to feel. The market decides. But at the end of the day, if you are 300 pounds overweight, if you're 100 pounds overweight, if you are just overweight on a significant level, there are health benefits, period. Or I mean, there are health risks, period. There are risks associated with being substantially overweight. That's not a judgment on whether or not you are a beautiful person or you have a good personality or you're worthy of love. That's not a judgment on that. That is just a scientific fact, period, in the discussion. So we put the whole argument aside about whether or not a woman is beautiful, if she's a size 12 or size 18 or 50, because Black women can't hear that. They have no ability to hear that. Put that aside. The science is very clear. We can't sit there and argue and be like, you're 100 pounds overweight. Oh, well, I'm strong and you don't see how I can move. Like one of the ladies in there, she sat there and she said that. She was like, oh, you would think that I'm overweight, but people who see me know I'm a beast. Okay, you may think you're a beast, but does your heart know you're a beast? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. It's like we have to really remove the sensitivity from some of these things and be like, look, I'm not sitting here and trying to say that you got to look like you're a size 6 and that you are not worthy of love unless you are a size. I'm not going to sit here and say that to you. It's not for me to try to define what another woman believes is beautiful. She gets to feel as beautiful as she wants, and the market gets to decide how beautiful she is. But you can actually be honest about what it means, how weight problems and how health problems are impacting Black women. And it's not in any way good. There's no way around it. There's no science. There's no affirmations. There's no Black girl magic. Cannot get around the fact that if you are unhealthy, if you're not eating right, or if you're not exercising, if you're not fill in the blank, and if you are substantially overweight, it's not good for you, period. So I'm like, it just started there. So I'm just like, why again? Why are we promoting? Why are we trying to immortalize? Okay, the kind of behavior, the kind of actions that we actually know right now statistically are harming Black women. What's the point of that? What's the value of that? So, okay, now let me move on quickly. I want to show you some of the different feedback. For now, I want to read an article I saw from The Root. I know they are a very popular media news site. They are also, to my understanding, very aligned with Black feminism. So I want to read what they have to say. This one says, a 12-foot statue of a Black woman pops up in Times Square and MAGA is absolutely losing it. So here they're focusing on MAGA. The plus-size Black woman statue with her hands and her hips has MAGA in a full-blown meltdown. Let me also provide context. MAGA was not the only one who was tripping over this. Yeah, you had some racist white folks out there who were calling out the fact that the statue obviously points to stereotypical representations and who were actually like mocking Black women and just were mocking Black people. So you had that. That goes without saying. But there were hella Black folks who didn't like the statue, who don't even align even remotely with MAGA. Like they have no political affiliation, like they don't rock with that at all. And they just thought that the statue was actually horrible. So I'm not gonna say that if you don't like the statue that you are MAGA. That's just not true. Okay. Listen, this one says, a plus-size Black woman statue with her hands on her hips has MAGA in a full. The fact that this is the image of a Black woman that's going on around the world, if that's true, if that statue really is making its round around the world, The Lord have mercy on all of us. Why do you want to have an unhealthy, angry, upset, isolated Black woman with some average clothes with no bra being paraded around the world? Like, what is that saying? Like, how is that empowering? How is that empowering? Why do Black women need to hear that message today? Why does an unhealthy, angry, upset, unapproachable, isolated Black woman, how does that empower Black women as a collective today, worldwide? Like what message is that giving them? So I'm like, this isn't for Black women. This really isn't for them at all. It was never for them. Because I'm like, you scratch the surface and you're like, nothing about this, nothing about the messaging is even remotely empowering at all. When you actually scratch the surface and think about it for like 2 seconds. And then third, when you actually understand the political implications of what's going on right now in the United States of America, it's even more clear to me that this was not for Black women at all. This is not for, it's happening to Black women. It's making fun of them, but it does not seem to me really empowering at all. It does not seem to be empowering at all. Okay, let's continue. Okay. Times Square in New York is one of the world's most popular tourist locations. That part right there. For folks from all over the globe descend upon the tourist attraction all year round, sold services as the perfect place to make a statement. That's exactly what's happening after a stoic 12-foot tall bronze statue of a Black woman popped up seemingly out of nowhere, smack dab in the middle of Times Square. And MAGA is losing their ever-loving minds. This one says, Times Square's director, Gene Cooney, explained how the artwork is making a statement, potentially asking questions about what we have as a city, as a society, and hopefully it's a tribute to our shared humanity. But MAGA Online don't quite see that way as well. We can't say we're exactly surprised. Author and ex-investor banker John Lefevre took to X with a photoshopped image of the statue with Attorney General Letitia James' rowhead edited in place. It says, my favorite thing about Letitia James is that she says statute of limitations instead of... Come on now. This one says, he wrote, my favorite thing about Letitia James is that she says statute of limitations instead of that. Okay, so now we're seeing all the different ways in which they're just making fun of, they're making fun of Black women. Now we're just seeing all the ways in which they're trolling. And honestly, to a certain extent, I can't even be mad at them trolling because it's pretty ridiculous. Like, this is actually very ridiculous. When you actually really start to think about taking all these things in context, we can't take these things isolated because when something like this, here's the thing about it. When something like this, you're talking Times Square, which is literally one of the most popular destinations in the world. So we can't take these things as flippant and not a big deal. You're not going to have a art like that be approved without there being a lot of foresight and understanding as to the message that it's going to be giving off. That was very, very, very calculated. You know what I mean? So yeah, I needed to say that. Now they're trolling because I mean, they know what time it is. And I'm like, of all of the Black women out there today who are doing wonderful things that you don't ever really hear about unless you are yourself aware of it or you're yourself connected into communities or spaces that promote positive things. I'm like, of all the positive things that are going on, we're going to sit here and try to combat stereotypes by now reinforcing stereotypes. Like that's stupid. Like, I wasn't born yesterday. But here, so we see them trolling here and here and here and here. I mean, that y'all are just, the disrespect is not right. The disrespect is, so they're trolling. They're trolling. I mean, come on now. It says the racist and downright sad remarks continue on X, and it will be taken down once she goes to prison. Come on now. That statue wants to know what gratuity means, and you cannot convince me that's not Fat Albert. Another Trump lover asked, where's the statue of a white dude? Calling out how woke the statue and what it represents is. Oh my goodness. But despite, see, and here's the thing about it. I understand that DEI is used way out of context. Like, people don't really understand what DEI is, and people actually don't understand how DEI disproportionately benefited Black women. I mean, disproportionately benefited, no, white women, right? So people don't, like, that thing became so politicized that people just lost the understanding of what it is. I know this because I have one of my close friends is actually like a DEI professional. She runs her own company we've talked exclusively about this. Actually brought her on, I think last year, to actually break down what it is, what it's not, looking at affirmative action, looking at statistically like who's benefited. And so we talked through and just hashed out all of the different misconception and all of the different propaganda being promoted with respect to DEI. So we talked through that. But unfortunately, like it's these kinds of things that are just like red meat for those who want to use DEI out of context. And it just becomes a really obvious, easy way to poke fun, because it is comical in a sad way. Okay, this one says, but despite the online hatred, not everyone feels away. Me being a plus size Black woman, I was kind of looking at it like, I wonder what me as a small child would have thought looking at something like that. Representation said, Blessing Obese of Dallas. Per CBS News, Kansas resident Brian Woodson called the statue powerful as a plus size man. I'm African American. It's an African American woman statue. So just seeing another piece of me to stop and have a moment with was very powerful to me. I'm like, so people are really pressed about. Okay, so you had one who said, "Oh, well, what would it have been for me as a young Black woman to see a angry, upset, unhealthy, isolated Black woman put on display? What would that have meant for me as a young girl? Why does that need to be the representation that a young Black girl needs to see of a Black woman who is visibly angry or looks very just stoic, looks hardened, got an attitude? You know what I mean? Nothing about her is feminine. They didn't put her in a dress. She even got a bra on. Nothing about her is feminine. Nothing about her is really kept. She's completely isolated, no context. That's not the image that young Black girls need to see. I'm sorry. And then you have the plus size African American plus size Black woman says, "Oh, this is very powerful. That means a lot to me." Powerful with respect to what? I think some people also they like to really get. They're so impressed by symbolism that they don't actually require anything beyond that. Because I'm like, you getting the statue of a fat Black woman isn't changing the situation for fat Black woman actually. Just because a fat Black woman is in New York Square doesn't change the fact that thousands of Black women lost their job last month. Thousands. More so than any other race or demographic. But we'll get into that in a bit. So great, you had a statue. Is that helping Black women with van life? Great, you have a statue. How's it helping pay your bills? Great, there's an amazing statue. What is that saying about your heart condition? Your diabetes, your arthritis, your chronic stress. How is that statue of you being upset, got an attitude, no context, completely isolated from anybody, anything? How is that improving your situation? And what messaging is that giving to younger generations? How is it powerful to see Black women completely isolated from anybody with a strong look at her face because she don't have no support? And she literally don't have no support. She didn't have a bra on. I mean, he removed every ounce of support possible. She didn't even have a bra. Boobs are just, it's just hanging. So like he literally, figuratively removed the support from her. And I'm like, that's supposed to be empowering? Like, come on now. Why are we so impressed with symbolism? You said take us every time that I'll prosper. Okay, this one says, so coming from a person of a color background, it's really nice to see something come across as this everyday person. Ruby, I don't know how to say that name, said, it looks like a bit out of place, but I also think that's because of where we are standing. It might not look out of place if everything in our surrounding reflected everyday life more to us. Okay, so basically just talking about how you had some Black people who thought it was powerful. Listen, if you thought it was powerful, you have the right to own your opinion. I will say this: when I initially saw the statue, I had more of a neutral response. Like, it was hard for me to really know how to feel without understanding the context. I was like, okay, a 12-foot statue, like, is it a part of a larger collection? Like, what's going on? Like, where is it? Like, I wasn't, when I just initially saw it, like, I didn't want to come to really any conclusions without me actually fully understanding the context. And as I've done a little bit more research and understanding, then I started to come to the conclusion. And I can honestly, I can understand those who are happy to have representation. Like, I can kind of understand where they're coming from, but I think I honestly don't agree because of so many different challenges that are going on right now. And because of the message that sends off, that is completely antithetical to what I believe ladies actually need to hear and the things that could actually help them. And so I want you guys to understand, right? We just went over this article. They talked about how you had some people out there, they said MAGA, but like I said, you have Black folks out there who weren't rocking with the statue. They were just like, this is stereotypical. This is disrespectful and dishonoring in so many different levels. This is a stereotype. Take it down. You have a sassy, angry Black woman with attitude, no smile on her face, no bra, completely isolated. And you're trying to sit here and tell us that this is empowering? Like, and you're trying to immortalize her? You're trying to immortalize this woman who looks like she doesn't look like there's anything feminine or doesn't look like there's anything even happy or joyous about her, right? So you had that sector, but you also had those who are very much celebrating, and I would argue a really large population of Black women, particularly those who themselves are plus size or feel like they can find themselves in her, who saw it as actually very encouraging. So you had that. But I want you guys to understand the context. Here we have a picture of a 12-foot, larger than life Black woman who towers over any human being, anybody who walks by. It's meant to kind of create this sense of awe. It's meant to create this sense of, reverence. That's the whole purpose of it. It's meant to make you stop and think and consider the grandiosity of this iconic woman who could be your mother or your cousin or your auntie. Now I know some of y'all in the comments saying like, that ain't nobody that I know. So I know some of y'all are rejecting that completely. But the whole idea is like, we want this person that everybody can know somebody look like that. If you're Black, you know somebody who looks like that. Some of y'all may look like that, you know what I mean? But now we're going to take that and put them on a pedestal. We're going to immortalize them. We're going to give them these iconic, godlike kind of attributes so that they can feel powerful, so that you can know who they are. You can know how much of a difference that they've actually made. You can honor, respect them. You can pay them their dues. They are powerful. They are the backbone of the community. They are strong. They are independent. And they are holding it all together. And they don't really need anybody or anything because they are self-sufficient. This is what the statue, to me, is saying. Now, the context of the statue is that we just saw Black women lost 106,000 extra jobs, most among all workers. Again, Black women, just April, lost more jobs than anybody else. Lost more jobs, lost more income, obviously, than anybody else. We also know Black women of pretty much all women are the most likely to be single, most likely to have only one person themselves to depend on as far as income. So the context of this large, iconic, statuesque Black woman who is impervious and strong and is self-sufficient, has what it takes, has the ability to take on the world, doesn't need anybody, doesn't have support, but doesn't need to rely upon it because she has what it takes. She herself is immortal. She herself is iconic. She herself is godlike. She herself is beyond that which is human, that which is feminine. She herself is statuesque, right? So the messages that's going out about Black women, the average Black woman, and how strong and independent and impervious they are is going out at the same time Black women lost more jobs than anybody else. Y'all don't see a correlation there? Do y'all see a correlation? Because when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is bigger than just representation. This is bigger than just a symbolic, we see you Black woman, pat in the head. Or a humiliation ritual, however you look at it. To me, it's not lost to me that at the same time, Black women lost countless jobs and lost their own economic support, their own ability to really take care of themselves, their sense of security. At the same time, they're getting messages that says, it's okay. You're independent. You're strong. You got this. You got this. It's not lost to me. That's why I'm just like, that's why I think those kinds of messagings are actually very damaging. Because the reality is Black women aren't superhuman. They're not goddesses that are somehow above any other human, frailties or challenges. They're not above Black men or white women, or they're not in some other category. They're human beings. They are women who have insecurities and frailties and weaknesses. So to assign qualities and attributes to them that are almost inhuman and almost godlike in a time where they are the most vulnerable is very, very, very detrimental and very damaging. And it's the last thing that they need to hear. It is the last thing that they need to hear. And that's when I see these things, I'm like, this is damaging on multiple levels. And it's actually, the propaganda continues, the lying continues. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this live, I said, the best way to destroy a woman is to get her isolated from her community. And then in doing so, to fill her lives with the idea that she doesn't need anybody else, that she especially doesn't need her men, that she doesn't need the community that God called her to be a part of, that God actually created for her as a sense of protection and nourishment. The best way to destroy her is to do that. And unfortunately, we not only do we see that lifestyle, we see that being promoted. And listen, I'm not sitting here saying that by nature of a woman being single, that she is necessarily in and of herself completely and totally just a horrible human being, or that she is way off the reservation. Like, I'm not saying that, because I understand there's different seasons. I understand, like, you don't want to just get with a dude just to get with him, right? Like, you do want to have basic level of standards. But I'm also saying it is not healthy and it is not God's will that over 75% of Black women in America would be by themselves. That is not who, when the Most High said, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth, and he gave man and woman to be together and to help each other and to be interdependent. His idea was not that women would now go off by themselves and have to try to figure out things by themselves without the context of anybody, any community. And you have a lot of women out here, not only are they single, they don't have any community. They don't have a dad or a mom or a brother or a cousin or a church family. They don't have anybody. That is not human. That's not even human. But like I said, what I just showed you earlier, that's what they're trying to immortalize. That's what they're saying. Oh, see, we see you. Yay, we see you. Now we're going to make a statue out of you. At the same time that they're losing their jobs and their ability to actually take care of themselves. And that, to me, is what is the most damaging and detrimental and evil about these kinds of things. And which is why I know anytime I see anything that is supposedly for the empowerment of Black women, I am 9 times out of 10, I'm questioning it. 9.5 times out of 10, I'm questioning it. I'm like, who's the source? Where's the source? And if it's being widely accepted across mainstream platforms, I'm even more likely to question it, because I understand the intention there has usually never been anything positive. And if it has appeared to be positive, it's usually been at the expense of something else in the community or something else in the Black family and just in general. So I'll rock with that stuff. With that said, I want to remind you guys that at the same time that this strong, independent Black woman went out is the exact same time we saw Black women lose more jobs than anybody else in the month of April. Again, the same time we saw the strong, independent Black woman be immortalized and put up on a pedestal is the exact same time we saw Black women lose more jobs than anybody else. Is this a distraction, you guys? Is it a distraction? Are they lying us? Are they just trying to just get people distracted? You know what I'm saying? So there's a few more things that I want to share with you guys. But before I do so, I'm going to go on a quick break. Again, guys, if you feel like we're talking about, like, share, subscribe, show some love in the super chat or Cash App. Also, y'all, be sure to check out, if you haven't already, if you're not aware, my book, It's Not Jermaine's Fault, it is out now. I've had a few of you guys purchase it, but I would really love to get your guys' feedback. It is ultimately about, I mean, there's so many different things that I want to pack in the book, but the main thing is there is such a misunderstanding of what Black boys actually go through from K through 12. There's just literally no material around it. There is actually just nothing there. And I think the more and more I start to understand anti-Black misandry, and the more and more I start to actually understand the ways in which Black men actually haven't had support and don't have support from like day one. And as I've been reading from books from Dr. Tizon Johnson, and actually just in my own life, connecting with different Black men in my community that I'm working with, I was like, there needs to be more material around the experience of young Black boys. So I partnered with some people and came up with this book it's really tailored towards Black kids, for Black boys, but it's about trying to start to articulate at a young age what they're going through, and then ultimately providing tools and different ways to inspire them and encourage them, because unfortunately they don't get it anywhere else. They just don't. They really don't. And I think this is actually partially why anytime there's institutional support that is removed, I don't really see Black men be in tears about it, because they're not used to getting institutional support. So they don't really care. It doesn't really change how they navigate either way, because it was never there. So the book talks about that. If you guys haven't had a chance to do so, please do so. I would love to hear some of your guys' feedback. I'm going to go on a quick break, and then I'm going to go into just one more thing that I want to break down, and then we'll wrap this slide up. Okay, yeah, so check it out. It's Not Jermaine's Fault, available now for those of you guys who haven't already, and I'd love to get your feedback. I have a few of you guys I want to circle back with and see if we can do a collab on it, because I wanted to hear it from you real quickly. Let me pull this up. Sorry, you guys. I meant to show you guys this before. Yeah, so available for purchase now on my website. Be sure to check it out, and then also let me know what you guys think of it. Oops, I don't know what it's scrolling in. Let me know what you guys think of it. Would love to hear your feedback. Okay, so with that, there's one more thing that I want to pull up as a quick recap for those of you guys who are coming on. Like, share, subscribe. I know the drill. We are going over exactly why America celebrates single Black women. I mentioned at the beginning of this live that ultimately, anytime you isolate anybody from their environment, and particularly when you isolate women from their own environment, they're easier to control, easier to manipulate, easier to just get to do whatever you want them to do. So that has been the case for Black women. This is why, in my opinion, they're always being celebrated when they're alone. And then if they are married, there's always messages going out to try to encourage them to not be married, because they're easier to control and manipulate when they're not connected to their power source, which is their God-given community. They're easier to control and manipulate. So we'll continue to see that message go out, because the ultimate goal is to keep Black women, in my opinion, is to keep them from being able to really thrive and prosper. Because when Black women thrive and prosper in a system that is against them, then that could be a threat. So it's easy to just make sure and keep them separate from their community, from their men, from their family, all that. Now, also, another thing to consider is, as we are seeing the strong and impervious and strong, impervious, immortal, iconic Black woman being promoted all across the world at this point, because the Times Square is an international hub. So as we're seeing that image being promoted, plastered for everybody to see across the world, that same time, Black women in America lost jobs more than any other group of people in America. More than Black men, more than men and women. Black women lost jobs the most. So the same time women are being told, oh, you're impervious and you're strong, you don't need anybody. That message is going out is the same time they lost their jobs. A big, big portion of them. This again is what is so detrimental about this messaging. Because it's selling a lie that doesn't translate. And it's selling a fantasy that's actually leaving women really vulnerable. You put them in spaces when they're isolated, and then you fill them with ideas that not only can they do it by themselves, that they should do it by themselves, that they're impervious or they're beyond these other women who require upon community or family or men or whatever. They're above all of that. You put them in a situation where they can be spit up and chewed out. Because like I said, it's far beyond not just having a man. A lot of these ladies don't even have family. They don't have a sister they can get along with, a cousin, uncle, nobody. A lot of times that's celebrated. A lot of times it's celebrated. So that's what I think is so, what's the word? Insidious about this whole thing. Now, I want to turn your attention real quickly. Now, this video I think was actually from last year. And since then, I think to my understanding, this person actually finally got a job. Awesome, praise the Lord. But I wanted to show you this video of a young Black woman who was doing van life for about 4 or 5 years, because while she was able to get a job, more Black women are actually going into van life as they're losing their job. More Black women are, considering homelessness, embracing, there's different terms, they're rebranding it, but they're job insecure, they're housing insecure, they're in situations where they're actually very vulnerable. And that is the reality of what's going on. And how does that message help with the day-to-day reality and struggles that these ladies are facing? So I want to show you guys, I did a portion of this video a while back, one of my previous videos, but I wanted to bring up and play it in its entirety because it gives you guys a really good, really solid understanding as to the reality of what's going on. And what's so funny is about this young lady you're about to see. Now she to a certain extent, she has natural hair, like the woman she has natural hair. She's in a t-shirt, she's kind of dressed like the statue. And what I'm going to show you, but the context, she's living in her car, right? Okay, so let me bring this up. I'm going to play it for you guys, and then we will break it down. This is why this stuff is a problem.
Yeah, I am 20. My name is Talia. I am 25 years old, and I have been living the car, SUV, van lifestyle now for almost 4 years. And today, I'm going to start a new series with y'all called The Not So Beautiful Side of Car Life. And since I am currently in a situation, we are going to start with the situation that I am currently in. Being stranded and not having the funds to get any type of repairs done, buy any parts, or even have anybody look at your vehicle to see what's wrong with it. Okay, so quick little story time. So I have now been stranded for 9 days. This is the longest that I have ever been stranded. The second longest time was about 5 days. I was in California. I had a dead car battery. Super easy fix, right? I just needed to get to an auto parts store. It just wasn't one close, but we eventually got a jumping out one. So anyways.
You guys, she said, stranded for 9 days. She said she'd been stranded for 9 days. All I think she needed was like a battery jump or a car jump, but she's without support. If she's 20, I think she's 24, 25, she's been doing the van life for like 4 years now. This sounds like a woman who was without support, a very young woman who was without support. Very, 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 very dangerous. Now, how does this lifestyle coincide with the strong, impervious, iconic, godlike Black woman that we just talked about? This 12-foot statue who's impervious to the world and, got a low attitude and can do battle by herself. And that's what it takes. How does that powerful, God-like, idolatrous figure coincide with Black women who are losing their jobs and who are literally trying to do things by themselves? How's that coincide? Is that what they need to hear? Do they need to hear that they're godlike and that they can be immortalized and that, you know, they are strong and we see you, you got this? Is that all they need to hear? Is that really helping them? Let's continue.
This time, I have been getting some help, you know what I mean? Like, shout out to the people who have stopped, who have, you know, checked my car, who have used their money to buy parts for my car. Like, super grateful for this woman, I swear to God. But, you know, other than that, like, I have very limited food resources because I haven't been able to make any money. Because I can't DoorDash because my car is not running. And so there's that. Very limited showers. I have been offered a shower by a truck driver because I am at a truck stop, thank God. But I've only been offered one shower, and I'm not just going to be asking strangers for showers. I've been washing up at the sink, you know, as long as I got my towel and my soaps, I'm really just fine. I haven't been having like the worst luck with food. I mean, I have been trying to eat on like $5 maximum a day, which if you're living in today's economy, you know that's obviously basically impossible. And
Okay, so I mean, she's talking about, you know, needing to ask help for a shower, trying to live off of $5 a day. Like this is like the kind of stuff you would expect to hear like in a developing nation. You know, when you hear about like, oh, you know, your average person in Asia or Africa or Latin America is eating on $1 a day. I hear that stuff all the time. They're trying to ask money from all these like big nonprofits. Like, oh, feed the children. We hear that all stuff all the time. You don't expect to hear a woman in America talking about trying to just survive off of less than $5 a day for food. Well, you know, you can't even get a meal for less than $5 at McDonald's. At fast food. I mean, now with the Dollar Tree you go that they're trying to charge $1.25. Now it ain't even the Dollar Tree; it's a $1.25 tree. I'm saying everything has gone up. So, and I am not saying this as a way to poke fun at her. This is a very serious situation, and it's unfortunate to me that it doesn't sound like she has really a ton of other support. Don't really know why, but I'm just trying to explain to you guys again, and I want to articulate and display the context of when all of this stuff is happening.
still, it goes very quickly. So, you know, limited food. Like I said, I'm very grateful for the people that have helped me, but this is just one of the downsides of it. I'm just grateful that I was able to get somewhere where there is like a consistently flowing like traffic amount, because some of these people do see me sitting in here and they're like, girl, weren't you just in there like 3 days ago? And I'm like, yeah, I'm stuck. I'm like, you're stuck, like let me at least buy you some food. I did have a couple of gentlemen that gave me some money. Like, shout out to y'all, because oh my God, without it, I just don't know what I would have done. Like, that money is about to pay my cell phone bill, okay? Because again, we're stuck and we haven't been able to make any money. It's okay. I'm not stressed out. Yes, I am. I'm very stressed out. But it's okay. Thanks for coming to my part 1 of the Not So Beautiful Sides of Car Life. And I will see y'all next Saturday for part 2. Bye. My name is Talia. I am 25 years old, and I have been living the car SUV.
Okay. So you guys got a sense of what's going on. 25 years old, been living in the car life for the last 4 years. She was door dashing. I know one of you guys mentioned, well, why did she have a phone? I mean, to a certain extent, a phone is pretty much a necessity in today's economy. If you are to apply for jobs, if you are to get interviews, have interviews, a lot of that stuff is done on the phone. I mean, even a lot of interviews now are done via Zoom first, or they'll do like, you know, something, some form of a video call before they bring you in person. So a phone, to a certain extent, in today's economy, really is a necessity, because that's literally how everything is done. Even applying for jobs now, you go online and apply. You know what I mean? It sounds like she was door dashing, but her car broke down, and it wasn't like there was really much of anything, any savings, anything, really any support for her to fall on. And I wanted to share that example. It may sound kind of extreme, but unfortunately, more ladies actually find themselves in these situations. And I'm not saying this as a way of judgment, as a way of passing judgment, or as a way of even trying to poke fun, because that's really sad. But my point is, why at the same time that we're seeing more and more women really actually feel pressed economically, and Black women in particular are usually at the bottom of that, because Black women, of all women in the West at least, have the least support, familial support, because most of them are single. They have the least amount of access to resources, because Black people, by and large, have the least amount of wealth compared to other communities. And then on top of that, we just realized that Black women face more unemployment than anybody else. Like, why at that time are we now getting statues of Black women being impervious when they're actually really struggling? Many of them, I'm not saying all, many of them are. That's not the messaging that we need to hear. There needs to be a level of honesty as to what's going on. And that, to me, is what I found so insidious about the statue. And this is why I don't think it was done in good faith. Who knows? Maybe the artist really did do it in good faith. I don't know. I mean, I don't really fully know his background. I do understand that there is other similar statues he's done in other places, like in the UK. So maybe his was done in good faith, but I think the context around it was not done in good faith, in my opinion. And it does more to harm women than it does to actually address the real life situations that they have right now, because many of them are alone. Many of them are stressed, but they actually feel like that's a natural place for them, because they've been told for the last how many decades now that that's who they are. That who they are is the single, strong, independent woman who can manage and navigate whatever the life throws her way, even if that means she's living in a car stranded for 9 days with no food and depending upon strangers to help for showers. That's what a strong, independent woman is. And again, I'm not saying this as a way to poke fun, but to try to paint a picture on how toxic and damaging these messages about Black women have been for a very long time. And I think Black women are so used to not having support that the idea of having it seems weird and strange and alternative. And it almost seems like it's a condescension from the godlike position that they've been given, a position that's actually very damaging to them. Because as I mentioned, one of the most detrimental things about toxic feminism is that I think it gave women not only the message that they could do it by themselves, but that they needed and they should do it by themselves. And in the current 2025 economy, when now you have ladies who are complaining about losing Section 8 and food stamps and everything associated with that, and the fear associated with that, we're seeing that facade is quickly falling. It is a house of cards that is falling. And these ladies have not only institutional support, they're having less institutional support. They're now faced with the reality of how much support they never really had. And what that's showing is that this environment was never really been optimum. It's not the environment that God meant for them. It's not the environment that God meant for them. God didn't create women to be out here fending by themselves, apart from community, apart from, God's, just family, even friends. Some of them don't even have friends that they could feel like they can lean on. That's not natural. That shouldn't be valorized. That shouldn't be normalized. That should not be celebrated. That's actually very damaging. And my hope is that these kinds of scenarios will force the issue and really cause ladies to ask themselves whether or not what they're believing has actually been useful. I found that the more I understand and grow in my own faith, and the more I even read scripture and understand scripture, the more I'm convinced that the way that is promoted to ladies on a day-to-day basis is completely against everything God intended. Completely. Like almost everything about modern culture is completely against women's design. Completely. The more I understand God's intention for women, for family societies, I'm just like, this culture is completely anti-God. It's unnatural. You have to convince women now that they should work with men. Like the fact that we're even having this conversation, when that's been that has been integral for human existence since like day one, shows me how unnatural an environment that we are. You have women justifying doing things by themselves to the point to where they're struggling to actually survive and just make ends meet. You have women justifying them not getting along with anybody, justifying doing things that are damaging to their health, justifying selling their body or doing different things that are actually damaging to them sexually, emotionally, spiritually, like justifying their own demise. I'm like, that is unnatural. And it's also why, too, I think it becomes more and more important to really resist what we might consider just natural cultural phenomenon. Because a lot of the natural cultural phenomenons that we see, whether it be through media, whether it be through a lot of the movies that are being promoted, some of these television shows, these series that we love to watch, you have to question the messages that they're giving. Because what you'll find is that we can all point to a billionaire who seems like they're able to live up to that standard. But you're talking 1 in a billion. You know what I mean? You're talking a puppet who is promoting oftentimes a lifestyle that very few, if any, are really able to actually live. And even those who seem as if they're able to live up to these evil, demonic, anti-God, unnatural lifestyles, we don't even know what's happening to them behind closed doors. We oftentimes don't know. And it's what's also to me so fascinating is how you have a lot of ladies who are more comfortable with the idea of homelessness than they are being a housewife. But they would rather, a lot of them would actually rather struggle in their car, not knowing where food's coming from, not knowing shelter, shower. They would rather struggle and do that by themselves than actually learn how to get together with a man who's average. I mean, there are women who would choose that. They would much rather struggle by themselves and much rather fend for themselves and be in survival mode than risk being in a situation where they are vulnerable with a man. That is the definition of insanity to me. And that is the definition of being in a society that's completely unnatural. And that wants to do literally everything it can to ensure that Black women don't progress beyond the point that they are actually at. And we'll put tokens and we'll put people and symbols out there who seem as if they're able to thrive under this unnatural paradigm. But it's all a house of cards. And we know this because it's quickly falling right now. So anyways, y'all, that's some of what I have. I'm curious what you guys what you guys think about it. If you're just now coming on, you can check the, just go back and catch the replay. Check out some of the other videos that I did where I just shared just commentary around what people are saying. And yeah, I think there is a lot here, but thank you guys so much for listening. If you like this, yeah, if you guys like this, like, share, subscribe, show support to the channel. Be sure to check out my latest book. It's Not Jermaine's Fault. Again, like I mentioned, this is a book where it addresses anti-Black misandry. The reality is, as I mentioned before, the reality is we don't really hear about this. I actually was kind of shocked to learn about the experience that Black men have from a young age, about how they don't get the support that they need institutionally, starting from preschool all the way, if they even go to preschool, all the way up to college. And you have reports coming out about, oh, Black men are going to college and they're falling behind, or this and that, but nobody's actually talking about why they're being left behind when they're a young child. And so this book here is about addressing some of those challenges that Black boys have been experiencing since like forever, that the community just is not talking about, that we just don't hear, that doesn't get coverage, that doesn't get traction. And I think really the only way that there's going to be any change or any support is if Black people themselves address it. And to a certain extent, you have Black women who are so used to not having support or even a moniker of just acknowledgement that they don't even think it's necessary. But I don't believe that. So yeah, that's what inspired this book. So I would love if you guys were able to give me, for those of you guys who have purchased it or are thinking about purchasing it, would love to hear your feedback on it. Again, I did this in a collaboration with a few other Black women that I know, but that is it. So be sure to check that out if you have not already. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. And yeah, thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far. And we'll talk later, okay? Bye.
It's a nightfall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand, shining like gold, love's in command.
Miss Andre tried to put him down with a Miss Andre vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubters, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. Then came the neighborhood dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Miss Andre said, not on my time. With his wife Mia Swahili for strength and grace by his side, they set the record straight with humor and pride. In the dating game and gender wars where opinions clash and play, Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry, black men rise above it all, reaching up into the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand, shining like gold, love's in command.
Miss Andre tried to put him down with her Miss Andre vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubts, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. Then came the neighborhood dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Miss Andre said, not on my time. With his wife Mia Swahili for strength and grace by his side, they set the record straight with humor and pride. Game and gender wars where opinions clash and play, Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry, black men rise above it all, reaching up to the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand, shining like gold, love's in command.
Let them talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry, black men rise above it all, reaching up to the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see.